Most billionaires are obsessed with being seen. They build glass towers with their names in 50-foot letters. They buy social media platforms to ensure their every thought is broadcast to millions. They crave the celebrity billionaire status. But the two richest men in Indonesia, a nation of 280 million people, operate in almost total eerie silence. Robert Budi and Michael Bambang Hartono have a combined net worth of over $50 billion. To put that in perspective, that's more than the GDP of entire nations. They own the cigarettes in the people's pockets, the bank accounts on their phones, the malls where they spend their weekends, and the tech startups that run their lives. Yet, if you saw Michael Hartono eating at a humble roadside food stall in Kudus, which he actually does, you'd think he was just another retiree. This isn't just about being humble. This is a calculated, multi-generational strategy. In this video, we are going to pull back the curtain on the Hartono way. We're going to look at the exact moment they gambled a tobacco empire to buy a failing bank, and how they use a secret consensus rule to prevent the kind of family feuds that destroy most dynasties. By the end of this, you'll understand why the most dangerous power isn't the kind that shouts. It's the kind you can't even see. To understand why the Hartonos are so obsessed with staying under the radar, you have to understand where they came from. Their story doesn't start in a boardroom, it starts in a fire. In 1963, their father, Oe Wee Guan, was running a small clove cigarette company called Djarum. In Indonesia, Kretek, clove cigarettes, isn't just a product, it's a cultural staple. But that year, a massive fire leveled the Djarum factory. Days later, their father died, leaving Budi and Michael with a pile of ash, a massive debt, and a dying business. Most people would have walked away. But the brothers realized something about the Indonesian psyche. In a crisis, people don't stop smoking, they just smoke cheaper. They didn't just rebuild the factory, they modernized it. While their competitors were still using slow, hand-rolling techniques, the Hartonos imported high-speed machinery from Europe. They turned a local habit into a global export machine. By the 1980s, Djarum was a cash monster. But here is the first connective thread. Tobacco provided the money, but it also provided a target. Being wealthy and of Chinese-Indonesian descent in the 1960s was dangerous. There was immense political pressure to blend in. This is when the family changed their name from Oe to Hartono. Harta means wealth. No is a common Javanese suffix. They chose a name that meant possessing wealth. But they realized that to keep that wealth, they had to stop being the Oe family and start being the silent titans. Tobacco was their war chest. It gave them the cash flow to wait for the world to break. Now this is where the storyline shifts from making money to controlling the system. Imagine it's 1998. The Asian financial crisis has hit Indonesia like a tidal wave. The currency is worthless. The streets of Jakarta are in chaos. And the nation's largest private bank, Bank Central Asia, BCA, is collapsing. The government has to step in to save it because if BCA fails, the country fails. The previous owners, the Salim family, were forced to hand over the bank to the government to pay off their debts. The bank was toxic. No international investor would touch it. The Hartonos stepped forward. In 2002, they used the massive cash reserves they'd built up from tobacco to buy a majority stake in the bank. On paper, it looked like financial suicide. Why would cigarette makers want a broken bank? Because they understood the difference between a product and infrastructure. A cigarette is a product. You sell it, it's gone, you have to sell another one. But a bank? A bank is the infrastructure of a person's entire life. By buying BCA, the Hartonos became the landlords of the Indonesian economy. Today, if you are an Indonesian citizen, you likely have a BCA account. When you get your salary, it goes through BCA. When you pay for your groceries, you use a BCA card. When you take out a mortgage, you pay the Hartonos interest. They take a tiny, invisible slice of almost every transaction in a country of 280 million people. BCA is now the most valuable company in Southeast Asia, worth over $75 billion. This move turned the Hartonos from rich businessmen into essential infrastructure. They became too big for any government to ignore, but too vital for any government to attack. Now you might be wondering, if they have all this power, why don't they fight? Think about the great billionaire families, the Guccis, the Murdochs, the Kochs. They almost always end up in court, suing each other over the throne. The Hartonos have avoided this for 60 years. How? They use a secret management style called the Dewan Desa, or village council method. Budi and Michael don't make decisions alone. They, along with their children, meet in their modest headquarters in Kudus. Here is the rule. Every major move must have 100% consensus. If Budi wants to buy a tech company but Michael says no, the deal is dead. There is no majority rule. It's all or nothing. This forces a culture of extreme due diligence. It kills the ego. In most families, the leader makes a mistake because of pride. In the Hartono family, the unit prevents the mistake. This consensus rule is the glue that keeps the $50 billion together. They prioritize the survival of the dynasty over the glory of the individual. This is why you never see a Hartono in the tabloids. If one of them acted out, the council would shut it down immediately. If you think their story ends with old-fashioned banks and cigarettes, you're missing the most important part of the narrative, the pivot. Around 2010, the brothers saw the writing on the wall. Tobacco was facing global health crackdowns. Traditional banking was being threatened by digital apps. To stay invisible and powerful, they had to move into the cloud. They did this through Budi's son, Martin Hartono, who founded GDP Venture. But they didn't just invest in apps. They followed their old strategy: buy the infrastructure. They didn't just buy a shopping site, they built Blibli, an e-commerce giant. They didn't just buy a travel app, they bought Ticket.com. They even moved into electronics with Polytron, transitioning from old TVs to electric motorbikes. They are betting on the digitization of a nation. While you are scrolling through your phone in Jakarta, you are likely using a service they own, on a network they influence, paid for by a bank they control. But here is the ultimate contradiction. While they fund the high-speed future, Michael Hartono, now in his 80s, spends his time playing bridge. He isn't at Silicon Valley parties. He's at a card table using logic and partnership to win medals at the Asian Games. It's the perfect metaphor for their business. Cold, hard logic. No emotion. Just winning. We have to address the double image they have created, because this is the most brilliant part of their invisibility. In Indonesia, the Hartonos are seen as national heroes. Their Djarum Foundation is the single greatest supporter of Indonesian badminton, the country's most beloved sport. They have produced almost every Olympic gold medalist the country has ever seen. They provide thousands of scholarships. They plant millions of trees. But here is the reality check. The money for those scholarships and trees comes from Djarum tobacco. Indonesia has some of the highest smoking rates in the world. By funding badminton and education, the Hartonos have made themselves uncancelable. If a politician tries to tax their tobacco, they are attacking the people who fund the nation's Olympic glory. They have achieved the ultimate goal of any titan. They are a private family that functions as a public utility. They have tied their personal wealth to the national identity. So why does the story of two brothers in Indonesia matter to you? Because they provide the ultimate blueprint for real wealth. Most people try to get rich by being first, finding the next crypto or the next AI. The Hartonos got rich by being last. They were the last ones standing after the 1963 fire. They were the last ones standing after the 1998 economic collapse. They are the last ones standing while flash-in-the-pan tech CEOs go bankrupt. They don't use hype. They don't use leverage. They use compounding. They take the dirty money of the past, tobacco, clean it through the essential money of the present, banking, to fund the digital money of the future. How do you own a country? You don't do it by being the president. Presidents change every 5 to 10 years. You do it by owning the bank where the president keeps his money, the factory where the citizens spend their days, and the apps they use when they go home. The Hartono brothers are the silent owners of a superpower. They proved that in the 21st century, the greatest power isn't fame, it's indispensability. The next time you see a billionaire shouting for attention on your social media feed, remember Budi and Michael. They aren't shouting, they aren't posting. They are just sitting in a quiet room in Kudus, reaching a 100% consensus on how to own the next 100 years. Now you know why they bought the bank, why they changed their names, and exactly how they stay invisible. The question is, in a world that demands to see everything, can a $50 billion secret survive the next generation? If you want to see how another empire fell while the Hartonos rose, you'll want to check out our video on the fall of the Salim Group. But for now, the smoke remains, and the silence continues.